Oh boy, John Fetterman has stepped in it now.
Undeniably, immigration is changing our nation. I mean, I haven't spent...
He admitted it. He is off the reservation, and he has said things that the Democrat Party will never recover from. Never. Let's check this out. This is going to be a good video. This is good. John Fetterman, how did they let him out without a handler?
First Democrats saying, hey, though, we need a secure border. It's a significant issue. And if I thought there was any kinds of issues, and I've been very vigilant throughout, I've been actively involved in those kinds of things, and I've never witnessed those kinds of a thing.
But what do you mean by issues? Like, what kind of issues are you talking about? You're talking about people letting people in order to get votes?
Well, it's not. There's not that level kinds. I don't think there's that level kinds of organization.
But there is an organization that's moving these people to swing states. There's a significant number of these people that are illegal immigrants that have made their way to swing states. And then there's been calls for amnesty. There's been calls for allowing these people to have a pathway to citizenship and allow them to vote. The fear that a lot of people have is that this is a coordinated effort to take these people that you're allowing to come into.
Rogan is on it. Rogan will not stop. And I'm sure if Fetterman had his handlers, they would suddenly pull the plug on this interview. But when you go on Rogan, it's just unfettered, pardon the pun, conversation. And Joe probably gave him maybe some of the devil's lettuce. Okay? Oh man, this is good. It's good. This ended the Democrat Party.
The country, then you're providing them with all sorts of services like food stamps and housing and setting them up, then providing a pathway to amnesty, and then you would have voters that would be significantly voting towards the Democrats because they're the people that enabled them to come into the country in the first place and provided them with those services. This is a big fear that people have, and that you're rigging this system and that this will turn all these states into essentially locked blue like California is.
Well, immigration is always going to be a tough issue in our nation. You know, I had as a professor in grad school, Allan Simpson, and he was a United States senator. He was Wyoming, and he was actually a pro-choice Republican. I mean, how rare that would be. Well, it doesn't exist now. And he said, you are never going to have any meaningful immigration kinds of legislation. He's like, because both sides, that's useful for them, and it's going to be back and forth. And he said that 25 years ago.
Useful meaning the debate, having it always a political
it's
talking
useful
point.
For one side or the other. It's
right.
Useful, and he said there were never going to be, and he said that in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And I voted for the border deal, and that went down. And that's, I mean, he said that 25 years ago, and that was absolutely true now, that they had an opportunity to do a comprehensive border, bipartisan, and that went down because Trump, he declared that's a bad deal after it was negotiated with the other side.
But what didn't that...
I'll tell you what's crazy here. Fetterman just admitted that the whole thing is for helping one side. Rogan calls them out for importing people from the southern border that aren't supposed to be here to go to swing states. Fetterman just admitted it. He admitted it. Now he's going to try to blame it on Donald Trump. Listen to what Joe Rogan says. This is the most important part of this entire video.
Deal also involved amnesty, and didn't that deal also involve a significant number of illegal aliens being allowed into the country every year? I think it was 2 million people. So it was still the same sort of situation, and their fear is exactly what I talked about, that these people will be moved to swing states, and that will be used to essentially rig those states and turn them blue forever.
Well, I'm not really sure if that's what's in play. I think it's really it's important that we have to have an honest conversation.
But doesn't that seem logical, though? If you have a significant number of people that are...
Don't you like how Democrats, whenever you catch them in a lie, they revert back to, well, let's have an honest conversation. Everything's about a conversation. Conversation. They're taught this. Conversation. Conversations don't fix shit. We're seeing that right now, Fetterman. And we all know, and I'm sorry that you had a stroke and a giant goiter on the back of your neck. I'm sorry about that. Okay? I wish you a speedy recovery. But Fetterman seems to sound like he has seen the light. There's one reason only.
And I've been saying this, whether it was Biden or then became Harris, I said it's going to be very close. And Trump definitely has a connection with voters here in Pennsylvania, and that's why it's going to be close.
He's in Pennsylvania, and he's up for re-election soon. That is why. And you're going to see a major shift with Fetterman because he wants to stay in office.
They're being moved into swing states that have come across the border illegally, and then you've provided them with all these services. You provided them with food stamps, EBT, you've provided them with housing. You could, if you gave those people amnesty and allowed those people to vote, and it was very organized, you're talking about 75,000 votes over a few counties that switched everything over to the Republicans. You could see how you import 10 million people over the course of 4 years illegally, and then move a significant number of them to swing states, and then provide them with all these services, and then give them a path to citizenship. You could essentially rig those states.
Undeniably, immigration is changing our nation. I mean, I haven't spent...
He admitted it. He admitted it. Undeniably, immigration is changing our nation. You heard it. We all knew it was true. You that watch me, we know this is true. But isn't it funny to watch Lurch, to watch Shrek admit it? The Democrat Party just cringed. Is this worse than the deplorable moment? Is this worse than the garbage moment? Is this worse than calling you a fascist? He just admitted it.
Spent a lot of time in Texas, but it's very clear that immigration has remade Texas, and I think
that's their plan. That is their plan. Immigration has remade Texas. They want to remake America, and they want to remain in control. Look at that. Look at that. Fetterman, you dumb piece of you-know-what. But you admitted it. I love it. It gets better. It gets better. Fetterman admits the whole... Just watch this.
A legitimate outsider. This is the appeal. The appeal is that people think that this system is completely rigged and it's captured by money and special interests and enormous corporations, and that here's a guy who's outside of this system completely, and the evidence of that is how the system turned against him, and how you got to see people on television every night talking about Russiagate, talking about how he's a puppet of Putin, talking about the Steele dossier, talking about all these different things that turned out to not be true, and it further cemented.
I never bought into some of that kind of stuff, because if anyone that spent any time on the ground in one of those states, it's like, it's very clear that wasn't because of some small kinds of tweets and things.
He never bought into the Russia hoax. Look at Fetterman's right forearm. When you get a chance, look at that. That should tell you where Fetterman's alliances are.
It's like whatever. It's undeniable, and also remember, like, he was. The Republican Party was like, hey, this is a joke. And I remember Jeb Bush, and he had like $100 or $200 million, and he just went by. He ticked him off, and even then, people thought he was going to win, but he did. But remember, though, overall, though, that was 75,000 votes. That's a mathematical, think of that, 160 million votes, 75,000 spread across 3 large states, including my own. That transformed American politics and in the world as well. And it just came down to 75,000 voters.
75,000 voters decided the last election because of the Russian hoax, because of the Hunter Biden laptop. Fetterman knows it. You know it. I know it. I think the American people know it, and they're fed up. And Fetterman's off the reservation. John, avoid small hot tubs, twin-engine aircraft, long walks on the beach, park benches in Washington, D.C. Avoid Arkansas. Okay, just do not come to Arkansas, Fetterman. The Arkansas is real. John Fetterman exposed the Democrat Party. Their entire playbook was just put out there, and now the other team has it. We've had it. We've known that it was real. We've known that the Great Replacement theory is real. But Fetterman admitted it. And Byron Donalds just went on CNN and took Smirkonish and Axelrod and the Crypt Keeper, you see him right here, to the woodshed.
Congressman, fairness demands you get the final word. Take 30 seconds.
All I would say is that I think the reason why Kamala Harris is going to lose this election is because I think voters were going to give her an opportunity to say what she would do. And like she famously said on The View, not much would change. Nothing really comes to mind. And voters are scratching their head behind that. The word salad doesn't work. The empty phrases do not work. People want concrete answers to what's ailing them in this country. She's not provided that. Donald Trump has, and that's why the change candidate is Donald Trump, and that's why I believe he's going to win in 3 days.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Kamala Harris has actually admitted she wouldn't do anything differently. John Fetterman did something Kamala Harris was scared to do. Go on the Rogan show. And now we know why. Because Fetterman has diarrhea of the mouth. And he admitted to everything. He was not briefed by Nancy Pelosi that he couldn't talk about this or that. He was not briefed by Barack Hussein Obama to avoid certain topics. He was not briefed, obviously, by the Kamala Harris team because they were too afraid to go as well. We've got 2 days left to possibly save America. If you vote for the Harris campaign, I hope you get everything you deserve. Everything you deserve. And at this point, if America is this dumb, America is going to get everything it deserves.